Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nass, the student of the game, a Fans First Sports Network.
And I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Network. Somehow I'm staying composed as we do this intro, Travis. After the Jags' recent victory over the 49ers, not everybody's talking about composure all that accurately. And I know we'll have injuries and a lot of other things to talk about from the past weekend's action with the big victory over the 49ers. But I got to get on board with this, man, because, and let me be clear, as I break this down, I am saying no one is unentitled to their feelings and their opinions, man. But I got some people reaching deep in the bag for things I didn't think about, right? Like, or maybe it's because there are things I don't feel because I'm not a card-carrying member of the Duval Devout. But there's people obviously bringing up the job history. Hell, even Stats Guerrera, who is part of the Gold Standard podcast on Fans First Sports Network, one of our former sister shows there. 49er guy I've talked with before, even pointed out the drama with Cohen and Robert Saleh, how they were at one point competing for the job. You had reminded me of Kyle Shanahan in 2017. That drama's there. But then people are even pulling off the Jaguars as a punchline team and feeling disrespected going next level. And listen, I'm not putting our guy Tony Wiggins, T. Wiggs of Locked On Jaguars on blast, but that's not an angle I had considered. Did you feel that when he talked about that? Because there's still something else I want to bring up to that. But, like, is it that deep for the Duval Devout? I don't mean to go right to T. Wiggs and talk about him directly, but is this a thing amongst you Duval Devout there?
This is weird because I don't know. I it's a thing. Cohen specifically, because obviously who can other than him, but I could think it's a thing in Duval in general. Like, the fact of the matter is Jacksonville Jaguars do feel disrespected. And I can't say that like I'm saying that. I'm saying the players themselves have actively said this. You've heard this in their interviews when they say, hey, no, man, we didn't feel like we got the respect we deserve. Eric Armstead said this offseason. Foye Oluokun said it on multiple different occasions in interviews this offseason, both at training camp and also earlier in the season. So, like, this is something that they have absolutely talked about. It's like, we didn't get the respect that we thought we deserved, but we also understand that in this game, respect is earned, and we didn't earn it, and now we're punching people in the face, and we are earning that respect, and you gonna give us that respect, or we gonna take it. Like, I think that is absolutely a thing, not just with the players, but also with the coaches.
And all of that legit. The coaching drama, the respect, or lack thereof, probably better stated. I think there's a bunch of bubble boiling. I didn't even remember, but I should have, that both James Gladstone and Liam Cohen have a Rams background, further stirring into the mix of animosity. You would think I would have remembered that, but that's something that I got sprinkled in later. I'm like, oh, snap, that's all correct too. No one's talking about the Fred Warner leap. This is insane to me. Like, this is where I'm at. Granted, I don't have the disrespect card or all this other stuff. But as a 49er follower myself, my first question is, why the hell you sending the one good defensive piece they got left that ain't hurt over the pile and risking his health for 1-2? We'll forget about the other player safety stuff for just a minute. Oh, that's a legitimate concern, especially if you're a Jaguar fan, somebody covering the team who likes the O-line improvements and wants to be made right with a take that was once declared crackheady. But all of that being said, we're not talking about that as a factor, because to me, from a pure football standpoint, I think it's, well, it may not start there, but I sure think it ended there. And we're not.
I think it's literally the last play of the game.
Yeah,
it's the last play of the game. The coach is on the sideline, not very happy, like he's yelling on the field, and you can't tell what he's yelling about. But because someone I talked to was like, "Oh no, he's yelling because he's saying that Trevor Lawrence took too long to kneel the ball," and I'm like. And then you look at the play and you're like, no, that ain't it. Because he's saying, what is he doing? What is he doing? He's talking to either, because he's talking about the player, obviously. What is he doing jumping over the freaking pile? Like, the game's over. Like, I get that. But at the same time, he could be saying, what the is he doing? the person who coaches that player. Also, like it could be all of those things. Like it could be either of those things, I should say. And who knows? But we'll never really know. But at the end of the day, you got to believe that someone like Fred Warner, like someone who's that much of an NFL pro, that an all-pro NFL player, and you've never seen him do that before, is probably either being told to do that or something is there. Like, I mean, it's hard to unpack all of these things from the words that were said. You can assume they were innocent on their own if you want to assume that. Sure, I get it, whatever. But then you can't unpack the words from the person that it's coming from, and then unpack that from the history with the coaches, and then unpack that from the Fred Warner jumping over the pile, and then unpack that from the word, the fact that you use the word stealing, and then your head coach doubles down on it after the fact, even though he didn't even know what happened at the time and said it in the same sentence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's too much to unpack.
Well, and I'll say it this way, and I don't know what you made of any of the post game comments. I think Kyle Shanahan is completely off base by referring to Liam Cohen as too sensitive. I appreciate Robert Saleh kind of trying to walk it back. Obviously, the toothpaste is out the tube, but right. I can see what he was trying to do. He wasn't going to land that plane. There was nothing that could be done.
That's like Will Smith trying to apologize to Chris Rock. Like that's not it the day after.
Yeah.
That don't matter, bro.
There with the irony, by the way, of him not being the one that said "keep my name out your mouth," but I like it. This is good.
I'm just saying, like it don't matter. The apology don't matter. The words were said, and the actions were done. Don't apologize to me after the fight is over and you lost. Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you even lost the damn game. Like the L's handed out here seem to be multiplying. And by the way, I say this as a 49er guy. Like this, I was the guy that came on this show and said, hey, Saleh was paying y'all a compliment. I don't know what your deal is. Then I heard Kyle Shanahan's comments, and that flipped everything for me.
But it was like, of course not. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And what really, I think the statement we could take from all this is there's somebody outside the 904 that didn't think this was awesome. Liam Cohen's behavior after the game. It's absolutely insane. The rallying cry, even from players. Like it, I don't know, man. You're in that boat, I'm sure. Like, tell me what it is that you dig about your coach telling Saleh and company what for.
My brother, I talked to Ryan Hacker on the 1010 XL on Hacker After Dark on Tuesday. I'm sorry, I'm losing track of my days, man. About this exactly, and I'm just like, yo, of course, Duval County loves this. Why wouldn't Duval County, the same come in these stands and catch them hands stadium that when the Seattle Seahawks tried to jump into the stadium and tried to fight these fans, and they wanted to make these dudes honorary, like give these dudes the key to the city. These same fans, you think they're not gonna be excited about their coach saying, "Keep my name out your mouth," and about to be in these streets fighting? And that's just to unpack that from Doug Peterson's, I guess we'll just say less involved demeanor after Trevor Lawrence gets hit against the Houston Texans. Like, you're comparing that to this guy? Like, those few words, keep my name out your mouth, them few 6 words, that's culture changing. Like, it's flag planting for sure, in a way that I don't think very many other things could have done it. Like, could have brought these guys together in that locker room. Like, that's just from my perspective, because now you have a guy who's in the rabbit hole, who's in the foxhole with you, saying it's us versus them. It's always been Duval versus all y'all, but now it sure as hell feels like it.
This is the least we've talked about Trevor Lawrence and any passing struggles. It's because of this. This is the least we've talked about snaps and things with Travis Hunter. It's because of this. I don't know that I've seen anybody more hyped heading into a Chiefs game, including the Ravens, than these upcoming Jaguars. And it's because of this. Maybe it's 4D chess. I have accused Liam Cohen in that way. Maybe there's an element of calculation here. If I win the game and I'm given the opportunity, I'm going to go. Or maybe this guy is just so much cooler than I would have expected from a dude. I
think these guys are cool. Like, and I say this as a black dude in America who's looking at these dudes like, I don't think these guys are cool when I first look at them. I'm being real with you. Like, I'm being real. Just looking at them, and then you start listening to the stuff that they listen to, and I'm like, is that real? Is that really what you listen to? And then you see them talking on the side, like, again, off the cameras, and it's like, that's how you talk for real? Oh, all right, cool. Like, and you see the other, like, the videos and everything else, and it's like, oh dang, these dudes dope. Like, I wouldn't have guessed it. Like, if you ever seen the movie New Guy, that's just what it reminds me of. Like, they don't look how you expect them to look, but they act exactly how you want them to act. And it's like, all right, respect. You may not be invited to the cookout just yet, but you're getting close. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. You put in your application for enrollment.
It's pending. Yeah, it's pending for sure. Yeah, there you go.
So, all right. I know we opened. It's been a lot of time. Let's start with. Let's get to some of the comments. Radius, of course, shouting in with a Duval. We're good to see you. Robert in the comments. 49ers who? Completely fair. I'm not mad at that. Walker, among others, were hurt too. We'll get into injuries a little later in the show.
Yeah.
Jeff Senger comes in. Woohoo! I made a live. Good to have you, Jeff. At PJ Brown. See, I go into the comments on Wednesdays to see the latest betting news from PJ. We in the bank Monday, $100 on the line. I'll give him this much credit. At least he took it down from 150 because, boy, unless that's on the under, stay away from betting.
PJ won like $550 the first week of the season. So I'm there at this point. He's betting with house money. I understand.
He's with house money to his credit. But listen, no one got rich cutting checks. I'm glad he cut it down to 100. I said what I said. So, yeah. Oh, PJ's calling you. Better see y'all there. Look at that. Here we go. Let's see. Jags finally have depth. We'll get into that with the injury report.
Yes.
PJ Brown calling his shot 24-17 Jags. You think that game's going to break 40 points? That's interesting. Cedric Holmes jumps in. National media already saying picking Taylor Swift lead Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not.
So they're saying the Taylor Swifts are going to lead Kansas City to a victory.
The Swifties. Hey, let the Swifties come to Duval. Whatever. I guess.
Okay, cool. I guess.
Salah
I
saying
got no comment on that.
Salah saying I will end you was funny as beep because he would. Probably accurate, but that's kind of what makes it so great, dude. Like. I'll leave it at that. I don't even know what to add to that. That's a good point. I didn't take the time to size up an actual matchup because you and I both know these dudes weren't going to actually fight. But
right. I mean, you say that it's possible. Like you putting it past people. I don't know, man. I don't know people 6'3". Like some folks might actually be fighters. Like I don't know I don't know enough about Liam Cohen's background to be like he's not actually going to fight. Like. All I know is this dude's from up there in the Boston or New England area, and there was one of those feisty former coaches in his history. All I know them boys, they get down a little bit. So I got no assumptions built in here. I'm just saying, like, again, they don't talk like I expect them to talk. Maybe they don't act like I expect them to act. I'm not pulling no punches. I'm just saying that maybe you never know, bro. Disrespect the wrong person, you might get slapped.
Yeah,
I keep saying Will Smith, but people, hey man, you ain't think he was gonna slap somebody on national television. It happened. You never know, bro.
You didn't know why it was up on that stage until it was already done. That's a fair point by you. Sun Saint comes in. I think part of it was Cohen trying to get the team and fans riled up for Monday Night Football. See 4D chess. That's a theory that's out here. Mike Clinton,
fair theory.
Friend of the show, Mike Clinton being silly. Kyle, you ready to come to the dark side? Listen, you Duval Devout may respect me. The Jaguars don't respect me enough for that to happen yet. We'll leave it at that. But let's see. But isn't it Shanahan's from the same tree? Yeah, that's the part that's lost in all of this. Is that like what is it? Salah's calling out the different coaches with the Jags now. That are all members of the same tree from which Kyle Shanahan comes.
Kyle Shanahan doesn't do this because he wins the fair way. Man, get out of here, bro. Like we don't know you like you don't do the same thing that you was taught to do that made you great.
I mean, it's like it's almost as if they came from the same dojo, so to speak. Jeff Senger comes in. I remember when the disrespect from the team was so bad. If we beat a team they fire coaches right afterward. That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that.
That's facts. And that's absolutely how it was happening. It happened just as recently as last season when the Colts defensive back gave up the touchdown to BTJ that had him diving on the picture. It became a meme, and he was cut the next Tuesday. So yeah, it still was a thing as recently as late last season. So I'm here for a new day in Duval.
Yeah, no, facts of the case with that. So let's get into it. I mean, obviously, a big piece of the news. I don't know if you had more, Travis. I'm sorry, I kind of
if you don't mind, let's start with the other injuries, and we'll get to the biggest guy.
Oh, I was going to do that. Yeah, I wasn't going to bury the lead like that. No. I know that injuries are a concern. We'll talk about the biggest one, of course, later on. But what are some of the other ones that we should be most concerned about? I know that you have. If you don't have Big Cat Country, I know you're going to.
So we know the team plays on Monday night, so they're not due for the first injury report until Thursday. So we have a few huge items that we kind of just don't know about. But so I'm going to start off the easy guys, just to knock them out the way. Anton Harrison had an elbow injury. Brian Thomas Jr. had a wrist. Devon Hamilton and Antonio Johnson both had undisclosed injuries, but all four of those guys returned to the game. So I'm kind of working on the working assumption that they're all going to be managed throughout the week early on, and they'll be reasonably fine to play on Monday. However, we got a few guys that, again, a few guys that's question marks, and they can have major impacts on the game. Like Eric Murray, safety, left the game with a neck issue. Neck issues can be a little weird. They can be as simple as a stinger, or they can be as serious as a freaking neck issue. And Right, and we just don't know at this current moment in time, so we're gonna have to start, just wait until Thursday to get that injury report to find out what's going to happen there. You have Patrick McCarry, guard, who also didn't return. He had a knee injury, and he had a really dang good game too. But also, just as a side note, like I thought it was weird that we thought we knew how the depth of this offensive line was going to work. Like we thought Cole Van Lannon was your swing tackle because they even refer to him every time they mention him as our swing tackle, Cole Van Lannon. When he was injured in training camp, he was our swing tackle, Cole Van Lannon. But then Cole Van Lannon comes into the game at guard when McCarry gets hurt. And that was weird because then Chuma Adogo came in as a replacement at right tackle for Anton. And when Anton temporarily left the game due to his elbow injury. So I was just like, oh, we had all these assumptions built in that this one guy who was dominant in the preseason at guard was going to be your guard and he's your tackle. And the other guy who was your swing tackle in multiple seasons is now your guard. And it worked because Chuma played dominant.
Looks like Travis D. Holmes. Yeah. That's what we're trying to tell you.
We got De'Ami Brown. He didn't play in week 4 after traveling with the team. But he practiced in a limited fashion, so you kind of probably believe that you got to hope with the additional one day they're going to have in this one that he's going to be able to play also. And finally, let's get to the biggest guy. You got defensive end Travon Walker, who left Sunday's game with his wrist injury, and we've been reading the unofficial reports. I'll let you go through it, but
Jeremy
Fowler.
Well, and yeah, Jeremy Fowler mentions he's week to week. I think you were the one that said that actually informed me he was seeing a specialist, right? Who sees a specialist and plays in the same week? You had me there. I didn't know he was seeing the specialist, but Jaguars pass rusher Travon Walker is scheduled to see a specialist about the wrist injury Sunday. Per source, the injury is not considered season ending for the former number 1 overall pick. In other words, you're not going to be in a situation, at least not yet, where it's like Aiden Hutchinson and you're going to lose him while you're making a significant run. So that's the upside. But this is, I'll put it like we've seen, comes to mind, and JJ Watt has played with the club on his hand, so to speak, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that was something that a lot of the guys on the Big Cat Country, the Big Cat Country comment section, a lot of the guys on the Jacksonville Jaguars Discord group, and even on Reddit have all kind of said the same thing. Why can't they just put a club on his hand and let him play? Why can't they put on? And this is interesting because it depends on if it's his hand versus his wrist. Sometimes categorize something as his hand versus his wrist, but that's the reason, because like Walker had a sling over his left wrist afterwards. And the reason I mentioned that it was his left wrist versus his right wrist, because I want to remind folks that during his freshman season at Georgia, he had minor wrist surgery that caused him to miss 2 weeks that year. He missed the game against Kentucky and he missed their bye week. Now, in his sophomore year, he played through a wrist/hand issue. I guess they don't say if it's wrist or hand, but on that same left side, and he wore a cast over that area that season. Now, with the news that he was always going to see the specialist, and now he's being potentially week to week. I say potentially because that's per a report. Nothing's official come out so far. I'm hoping it was something similar to that second scenario where he could wear that wrist, wear that cast, and originally. But then I'm like, wait a minute. If it's the same wrist, he missed games the first time, but he also was able to kind of wear a cast over the second time, assuming that was his hand and not his wrist. Then, and knowing that it's not season ending, I'm having to make the assumption that it specifically is a wrist issue, and the second thing that happened was then a hand issue. He can wear a cast with the hand, you can't wear a cast with the wrist, especially if it's your second situation, whatever that's going to be, whether he has surgery, whether he doesn't, I don't know. Again, that's up to the specialist, whether he just needs to rest and they've already done a minor procedure or something like that. We don't know. There's just a lot that we don't know as far as that's built in. But what we do know is he's reportedly going to be week to week per Jeremy Fowler's sources, and that obviously means that Jaguars will be without him against Kansas City in Monday Night Football. They may be without him against the Seattle Seahawks. They may even be without him before the Rams London game with the Week 8 bye still to come. So we gotta kind of wait and see. But overall, like that's kind of what we do know on the injury front, and there's a lot we don't. I'm just looking forward to that first injury report on Thursday.
Yeah, well, and I'll add this too. Gliding joints are complicated, right? I'm not a medical professional, nor did I stay at a Holiday Inn Express last night. But I am a nurse's kid. I have worked in healthcare. I've seen a lot of healthcare charts worth a lot of healthcare data, and all I can tell you unequivocally is gliding joints are tricky. I'll leave that at that. That being said, yeah, I don't know. I'm going to be bold enough to say that it's worse than I thought if he misses London. That's fascinating if that happens. Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, because normally if you have an injury, anything remotely around the bye week, and there's a chance that you can make it worse or whatever else, then most teams just across the NFL, they're going to let you rest that extra week, if they even think it's close. So that's why I even mentioned the bye week or London or whatever. This could be a 2-week injury. It could be a 2 weeks and he's back for London, and it's fine. It's fine. I don't know. We'll just have to kind of wait and see.
By the way, your Duvan's Smoot call out is looking ever smarter now that this injury's been suffered for sure, right? And I'll ask this. I'll say this because I want your evaluation on this, and then we can move on to the next thing. But when Walker was out, now, I don't know how much of this is the 49ers and how much of this is depth, or what element is both, or what element is even Brock Purdy having probably the worst game he's had this season.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like the defensive front led up that much without Walker in there. I'm not saying they were as good, but the level of drop-off relatively mitigated, I felt like.
I think it was relatively mitigated. I think I would agree with that generally, but I also don't think they got a boatload of pressure without blitzing. And that does change how I look at this Chiefs game. I will say that because there are certain teams you just don't get away with blitzing very often before they just make you pay for it. That will be the Chiefs. Whereas the 49ers, you were able to get away with it a little bit better because, again, Brock Purdy was struggling, especially throwing over the middle, and a lot of it was high. His receivers bailed him out on a few occasions. But also, the defensive line, I thought did do a pretty good job. But actually, that kind of just does pivot us right into the next conversation. Let's just talk about getting into the defensive line depth. Like, the Emmanuel Ogbah and Dawon Smoot are obviously going to be your primary candidates to kind of see an update an uptick. There you go. In snaps while replacing Walker, but similarly, you're probably going to see BJ Green. I mean, I see Robert in the chats. That's exactly what he's saying. Green time. BJ Green was already made active for the 49ers game, but he only got one defensive snap. You have to presume that he's going to be able to be a little bit more of your pass rush specialist, give you a little bit more there, and maybe even make Danny Strigo active, this week. But this is going to be interesting because prior to week 4, we hadn't seen much from Ogbah. We hadn't. You hadn't seen one pressure from him before this week 4 game against the San Francisco 49ers. All 4 of his pressures for the 2025 season came in this game. And for those of you listening on the audio, we have the pressure rate, the pressures up for the Jacksonville Jaguars through 4 weeks via Pro Football Focus. Shout out to Dan Griffiths, Action Sports Jacks, for putting the information out there. But the gist of it was, again, all 4 of Agba's pressures in the 2025 season came in this game, despite the fact that he had like 71 snaps on the field. 2 of Devon Smoot's 4 pressures of the season came against San Francisco. 2 of Devon Hamilton's 3 pressures, 6 of Eric Armstead's 13 pressures. All these came against San Francisco. So that's got to be the blueprint moving forward. Like, for however long Walker's going to be limited, sidelined, whatever, they're going to need more interior pressure. They're going to, like, whether he's there or not, they kind of get more interior pressure out. Those guys got to start playing off the sheet, off the page. And Agba and Smoot are going to need to be continuing to play well with those increased opportunities rushing the passer, or it just won't work, because guys like Pat Mahomes are different monsters in the pocket. And we're going to talk about that in great detail on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get into Friday territory here, but I will say this much. I can make the argument that this is the best interior offensive line that the Jags have played this season, as well as the best quarterback, arguably. I take Joey Burr off the table because he didn't play but like a quarter-ish. So, that's a fascinating thing that we'll talk about more on the Friday preview episode for sure. But we got to broach this topic, and the only reason why he's not on the thumbnail is because of the injury. But Devin Lloyd sightings galore. Travis D. Holmes. I mean, I'm going to get into it. I know you want to get into it. Let's do a little show don't tell. I mean, first of all, the opening interception here. I get that. What is it? You see this, and then Colin Cowherd and John Middlecoff are like, "Ooh, what was he looking at?" Hey, how about that right there? That's I'll put it this way: more credit to the D tackles, right? And then, of course, this piece here too in the video, the across the body thing, the from Christian McCaffrey. Listen, dropped passes are a thing for the Chiefs. If they do more of that and Devin Lloyd's in the area, he's going to get another one in this game there too. And man, listen, I see you calling out Lloyd jumping to the outside to eat alive a running play. That's the kind of stuff we haven't seen from him like this previously. I don't feel like, right? And I know that you're mentioning a Carolina Panther play in that happening, but again, this is something I don't feel like we've seen that same pop. We've kind of always felt like Devin Lloyd's been in the wrong place on plays. That is not happening in 2025.
No, I'm with you, bro. Like, and this is fun because if you've heard us on this podcast, if you've seen the tape review with myself and Jaguars United, Jason Trent, on his channel in the 2024 season, you've heard my opinion of Lloyd's play in previous years. And I want to be clear in saying this. Like, I'm not a hater. I'm not an appreciator. I'm just a guy who looks at the film and tells you what it says. I am simply a translator or an interpreter, whatever you want to call that. But I am also someone who seriously thinks this to my core. When the criticism is loud and public, the praise must be equally loud and public. I am an avid believer there. So when I gave him criticism based on the film in the 2024 season, you saw it on the film. You saw the film breakdown of the all 22, and we talked about it. All right, cool. Well, this dude's playing out of his mind. I think we absolutely need to have that same level of angst, of gumption, whatever you want to call it. And say, nah, man, this dude's playing out of his freaking mind, and he deserves all the accolades that's going to come along with that. So, like, per next gen stats, Lloyd he's a true game changer in the matchup against the 49ers. Like, he added a 56% net win probability across his 5 splash plays, which some of them you just saw. His 2 intercepted passes increased the Jaguars' chance of winning by 31%. And he earned a pressure on Eric Armstead's 4th quarter sack fumble, which is another 19%. He stuffed 2 runs at the line of scrimmage, was another 6%. So when one guy can be directly pointed at as that dude is more than half the reason that the team walked away with the W, and this ain't even the first game that he balled out on, as you just saw in that highlight film, he's probably going to get paid. Like, show me the money. Like, that's probably going to be the thing for that guy. Like, he's playing so dang well. Like, I would even say he's giving you that Fred Warner type of impact, even if he's not that type of player, if that makes sense. But for me, again, this is something that excites me. This is something that makes the hairs on the back of my neck go up and like, oh, this dude is playing different. Not the highlight plays. I love the highlight plays that Kyle just showed you. I like the basic plays. The fact of the matter, when a guy is just able to avoid the contact, make a tackle straight downhill, he's not running around guys, he's running through guys. Like when I see things like that, when I see him actually pressuring the quarterback, one blocker, two blockers, strips the block, gets the pressure on the quarterback. It was a drop pass. I'm here for that. When he's running through blockers downhill and making tackles, like bow, running through guys, getting downhill and making tackles, like that is something I haven't seen very much of from Devin Lloyd. And the fact that we're seeing this in the first year in Anthony Campanelli defense, I'm going to publicly give him the credit. And I swear to you, I don't talk to Devin on the side very much. I don't know his agent, but I feel like he deserves the accolades publicly because I gave him the same criticism publicly. So just keep it equal.
Yeah, and I especially the last clip there where he runs over the O-lineman, like, no, that's 100% what you want to see. And a dude that can fly like that, not typically the right body type to take a dude down. You got to know what you're doing to do that. And again, another element of just comfort and intelligence to lead to the physical play, right? The sniffing out of the play that you showed in some of those clips. Him, again, I said it earlier, but I'm going to reiterate in your basic plays that you're talking about. He's there to make the play this time. That wasn't always the case.
Right. That's it, man. And again, like he's done all the things that give him the ability to call himself all pro caliber player. And that sounds crazy to say for a guy who just a few weeks ago, we didn't know if it was going to be on the roster. We didn't know if he was going to be starting. He had the co-starter next to his name on the roster, like all these things. And in 4 games, 23 tackles, 3 interceptions, 3 pass breakups, and a fumble recovery. A straight up dog in Anthony Campanelli's defense. Jordan Schultz, you said it better than I could. Like that's what this is for Devin Lloyd. And he's playing like a captain of the defense. Hopefully he can keep this thing going and actually like materially become that in future years.
Well, if we're going to give Trevor the credit of having to have dealt with Urban Meyer and his and that impacting his development, how much do we let the previous coach give Devin Lloyd a pass with the previous coaching staff being an impact on his development, perhaps?
I mean, you're not wrong.
Yeah, Ryan Nielsen may not be Urban Meyer bad, but he was bad enough that a lot of guys on this defense who are your cornerstones, and they're doing this.
They're looking good. You're right. No, you're fair. I mean, these are fair points. Like if you're going to give the same passes you give to Trevor Lawrence for the roster build and everything else, you got to give the same passes to Travis Etienne for his ability with the offensive line. You got to give the same benefit of a doubt to a lot of the guys on the defense. But then there's other guys who you may not get as much of a benefit of a doubt, like a guy like Andre Cisco. He ain't here. He ain't getting that benefit of a doubt. I'm just being real. I'm trying to be fair to everybody involved. Like everybody ain't getting that same benefit of a doubt. So that was where I'm like, at least he is showing us now. So I can objectively say, all right, cool. Devin Lloyd has earned that benefit of a doubt because he's shown us the product on the field. The other guys, I don't know.
Well, and that's the point I wanted to bring. It's not so much that you named him Cook or anything like that. We asked Devin, show us. He came to the plate. I'm good with that.
That's it. No, that's it. You're right. And we should probably talk about the role of the. I mean, we already kind of have started the conversation. Like, let's just touch on the performance of the coaching staff so far and bringing out the dog in multiple of these guys. Like, we spoke about Devin Lloyd already. We just talked about Travis Etienne and the offensive line. Like, I mean, Anton Harrison. Like, there's a list of guys who we had questions on entering this season, but. Like I said, a month ago, Devin Lloyd had a co-starter, title or asterisk next to him on the defense, and everybody was questioning whether he was going or whether it was Ventrell Miller's season. But that was me, that was us, that was all of us. Like I'm not shying away from that.
Yeah.
Like this staff, this general manager, the leadership group, they made the call and created competition, pushing Lloyd. pushing all these guys. Like they brought in Bashaw too to push Travis Etienne. Ventrell Miller, they allowed this to be a true competition. Well, so far he answered the call. They made a competition between Anton Harrison at right tackle even. Like they put it out in the public atmosphere that these guys are going to be competing for the first time in their NFL career, and these guys all answered the phone like, all right, I'm here for it. Like that's y'all don't remember Fred Johnson and Chuma Ndogo versus Anton Harrison, like, and all that conversation for months. Come on, man, like these things matter. It feels like forever ago, but Pepper Strong remembers. Like that's. But Anton did give up 2 pressures this week though against 49ers. I gotta say that, but he fought through some injuries.
Yeah,
had a pretty solid game considering. Like, and he had a dang good season overall, man.
I'll say this much about that. Whenever you have Fred Warner looming and you're overthinking the room and you make a mistake or two, I'll let that slide.
That's fair. No, that's fair. But across the whole roster, bro, like we are seeing multiple guys who like never had to fight in their NFL career for a role, and they felt that off-season heat just a little bit. They felt things get a little tight, and they all rose to the occasion. And we're seeing the best ball we've seen from Lloyd, from Harrison, from ETN, after folks publicly questioning whether any of those guys were going to like be here, because competition works. Pressure builds diamonds. So shout out to the staff for knowing that more than just in words, but like actually in action, they promoted competition to create a stronger group. Like I give them credit for that.
Tapa comes in the comments. One thing neither Mike Caldwell nor Ryan Nielsen was able to do is have this secondary playing phenomenal. I don't know that's completely fair with Caldwell because they were balling in turnovers until they had a butt ton of injuries. But your point is still made that the corners are doing amazing things and making me look real smart and being one of the higher tiers in my position tiers back early in the preseason. Travis, what do you got, buddy? You're pondering.
Because how much of this fall? I mean, again, I'm not trying to talk about he who must not be named and the former general manager, but I mean, some of this does still feel like I'm chewing on it. It feels like it still should be pointed out that some of that still got to fall on the general manager because they're not bringing in competition. Like, again, I don't know if Anton Harrison plays to the level that he's playing if he does not have a guy behind him breathing on his neck. I don't, or 2 guys in this situation. I don't know if Travis Etienne is playing to this level if he's not on that 5th-year tag, and he is, and he also has, I guess, Bashaw too, and like he has the other rookie right behind him, and not knowing whether they're going to trade him or trade Tank or whatever, however that's going to go. I don't know if Devin Lloyd's playing in the way that he's playing. If they don't draft another linebacker and have Ventrell Miller there and straight up say this is a competition and put a co-starter next to his name, I don't know if any of these things happen because again, they made these guys uncomfortable to make them better. And there are multiple seasons where the Jacksonville Jaguars had these guys playing with no real threat, no material threat of someone taking their job. And the threat of me losing my job, losing my livelihood is a one hell of a motivating factor. And if anybody thought that they were going to lose their job tomorrow, you might be working a few extra hours, even if it's unpaid, because you're thinking, nah, not today. I need to eat. These ramen ain't going to pay for this ramen, these peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, they ain't paying for themselves. I get it. So whether you make millions of dollars or you make hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, whatever it is, that's a hell of a motivating factor. And I'm just happy to see that it's paying dividends for this Jaguar organization.
So no, 100%. And I'll even ask that, but someone's acting a fool in the comments. So, okay, I'm going to drag them out. You put my name in your mouth, right? Jags did the 49ers like I used to do Kyle at Blanchard Park back in the day, says friend of the show, Michael Clinton. He forgets about the fact that I'm the one that walked away with a championship when our teams played each other, and you were contained and no quarterback was sacked on my watch. Thank you. Sit down. Anyways.
These football arguments. I love it.
He said I was trying to avoid his comment in the comment. Yeah, there it is. He said I was trying to avoid his comments. I just didn't want to get that. I didn't want to pull out my inner Liam Cohen and make him look silly on the show. But you call for the storm, you get the whirlwind, buddy. Anyways,
Michael says Dewey is out there hitting everything like it's personal.
Correct. Yes. Accurate. 100% accurate.
Oh man,
I can't even put that better than that.
Topo says we have forgotten about the man who shall not be mentioned. Like it's already we're a month into the new relationship, but we forgot the other one's name. Like, hey, new phone, who this?
Hey, that means you got out of something toxic. I mean, that's the thing.
I mean, yeah. Jaguars United says, what up, boys? Club Jaguar coming up in a few, 15, 20 minutes? Let's get it, man.
Yeah. Oh, what? And
guy.
you got one more. I think you got a graphic here in the green here that you
Well,
were looking
yeah,
at,
because I
buddy.
still wanted to talk about the personnel stuff. Like that was a whole
Mm,
nother thing, man.
yeah.
Well, because I wanted to give Dennis Gardeck his flowers, right? Uh,
Yes.
there was a big emphasis on the run game with the 49ers. We knew the Jaguars were not going to be able to win that game unless they stopped CMC on the ground. And they held him to 2.9 yards per rush, which is crazy. And a big part of that was Dennis Gardeck because he played a season high 30 snaps in the game. He forced a fumble. He was flying all around the dang field, both on defense and on special teams. Like, I'm wondering if we're going to see the same thing or something similar like that this week. But I've kind of been back and forth because I don't know how Kansas City is going to choose to come out early. The Chiefs recently got Xavier Worthy back. So, and
Yeah.
you saw what they did to the Ravens, struggling defense, we'll say. So if they choose to come out with more 3 wide receiver sets, and then the Jaguars are probably going to counter with more nickel and dime sets because we know the Jaguars kind of like that. It feels like that at least. Then they're going to play more Jordan Lewis in that slot because they kind of love how he's been playing. Because for those who don't know, Jordan Lewis has been playing out of his dang mind also. Per Next Gen Stats, he is giving up a 25.9 passer rating allowed, which is 3.9 yards allowed per target, no touchdowns. He's had 2 interceptions, and he's giving up a he's giving up a 24.5 catch rate allowed over expected, which is a negative number, which means he's giving up. I don't even know how to establish that. They're expecting 25% of these catches to be made, and he's doing it the opposite. Like, I don't even know how to even establish that.
So they're for every 4 catches they expect, Jordan Lewis taking one off the board. That's what it is.
Actually, that's fair. No, because Lord Jesus, this dude, he's balling out of control. He has the lowest passer rating allowed amongst players targeted 20 plus times this season in the NFL. Like, for anybody who complained about that pick and then saw how much vitriol the Dallas Cowboys fan base had, after losing him, now you see why. This dude's balling out of his freaking mind. But that's what I was questioning. Like, do you put Jordan Lewis on Travis Kelce in those obvious passing scenarios, or do you play more dime personnel? Are you even comfortable doing that if Eric Murray isn't fully back? Like, or if he sits and Antonio Johnson is your starting safety with Dewey? Is this the week where you see heavy Travis Hunter snaps on both sides of the ball? It's just going to be a lot to see kind of what these coaches do on the defensive side, like when they're playing chess with each other, trying to figure out kind of how to attack each other. That's the part of the game that I'm looking forward to.
And let's address this right now. If Walker goes on IR, praying he does it and not saying he will, do you get another defensive end? First of all, we know you acknowledged it. We'd like to double down with you, Michael Neely. We got so many Michaels. I have to say the last name. Yeah, that probably isn't going to happen, but I would assume you kind of have to, I guess. But who would actually be available that's doing more than just moving spots around, right? That's the tough question. Or I mean, I don't know. Do you get Jalen McLeod involved? I have no idea how that works.
You have the option you do have that option to have Jalen McLeod involved. Let's not forget that. Like, he's still eligible to return off of IR, so that's a potential option. But I just think it's going to be these guys. I don't think you're bringing in another guy unless he's the perfect candidate, and I don't think there's many guys that's out there that's going to give you that kind of. Yeah, I think they probably feel like if it's just going to be a few weeks and if he's not put on IR, I think it's fine. Like, I think you'll be able to kind of get through these next few games because, again, I think the Jaguars are playing with house money anyways, personally, because no one expected them to be a 3-1 at this point. So at this point, you're just playing it how you play it. Houston don't look great. It's just you and the Colts at the top. Like, as far as the AFC South is concerned, I think you're in a reasonable spot.
Let's not dance. The Texans look awful, and they probably, arguably, should have lost to the Titans. Like this, bro.
Yeah.
Wait. When you lose to the team whose quarterback is saying, we don't need to relive the term, but like, we booty, that I'm just saying. Anyway.
But yeah, this team it just feels different. And I'm not going to say it's different than all these other teams. I'm just saying it's different than the Doug Peterson tenure and the Urban Meyer tenure. I can't tell you what it is compared because everybody wants to compare it to 2017 versus 2022 or all these other things. And I'm just like, hey man, maybe they're going to be their own thing. We'll see what it is. But one thing I do know is I felt the previous rosters for Jacksonville didn't compare to the Chiefs. I think I've said that in multiple times over the past years because of this top level guys. Like I don't feel that way necessarily in 2025, but just to be clear, this roster isn't that. They don't have that number of the highest tier players. Pat Mahomes being one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Kelsey being one of the best tight ends, Chris Jones being one of the best defensive linemen. But nevertheless, even with those players, it doesn't feel like this Jacksonville Jaguars team is going to be like steamrolled or bullied up front.
Feels closer than it has in the past couple times we've seen this matchup happen. I agree with that.
Yeah. Right. So like they're not going to get like beat up front like they did against the 2023 49ers or the Detroit Lions games where they just weren't close. Like this just feels like at worst, this Jacksonville Jaguars team, they're kind of at a level where they're not yet elite, but they're definitely good enough to legitimately beat anyone. And that feels like it's worth being said because that didn't always be the case. Like we can think back a few years, but cool, whatever. All right, they ain't gonna be bullied. What does that mean? Like that's progress, sure, but the answer still is kind of lingering.
Your standard isn't to just accept, hey, we're going to win more than 4 games. You're looking for that next leap, and we're going to evaluate that Friday whether we'll see that. No, I'm with you, buddy.
That's the point, because the big question in the atmosphere, the big question in the multiverse right now is kind of lingering. Is like, can they stop bullying themselves? They ain't gonna be bullied. All right, cool. But can they discontinue the self-harm of punching themselves in the nuts on key third downs and the red zone and all of that? Like, can you stop that? Because when they're not dropping passes, when they're not missing open wide receivers, or when they're not committing penalties, they are truly a strong bet to win most games on this regular season schedule. I ain't gonna say every, but most, if not every, like, especially I don't think there's an unbeatable team on this schedule.
Yeah. I'll agree
with
that.
The Chiefs aren't, none of these teams are undefeated. None of the teams that are remaining in NFL that is undefeated are on this schedule. And if you look at the performance of their opponents on this current schedule, all of these teams can be beaten, and that is including the Kansas City Chiefs. And because of that, I'm feeling reasonably solid about this game coming up, but we're gonna talk about that on Friday for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, let's get through some of the comments here as we wrap up. Mike says, love you, Kyle. Yeah, I know your arm was broken in that championship game. I was making jokes. It's good to have you guys in the comments. You mentioned Dewey. Dewey is a beast. Timmy Devil can't deny it anymore, says I mean, it's really hard to make a case. Timmy Devil, if you feel like you can make a case against one Andrew Dewey Wingard, may the force be with you for pure entertainment. I'd like to see it. Robert Kemp comes in. I feel like I was the only one on Twitter who was super hyped when we got Gardeck. He's an animal, a light Andrew Van Ginkel type of player. Yeah, it's a good gap he fills, and I the number of peanut punch I see in the defense, all of it. I think we're back to that player making play, right? Players make plays, and then the coaching staff allowing them to do that is certainly what we have in play there too. And I think Gardeck fixed that for well. So, Robert, if you were excited about it, good on you.
No, that's fair. I didn't know what to expect from Gardeck. I want to be clear in saying this because he was coming off of his, if it wasn't his second, it was his third, but it was either his second or third, ACL, tear between high school and college and NFL or something like that. So in my head, I'm like, I don't know what they're getting. And it made it a little bit tough to kind of feel high about the signing. So seeing him performing the way that he's performing, absolutely is like, dang, that's dope. But also, that's my reason. Now, it was just being caused. I didn't know if he was just a guy being signed or just a dog being signed. And now we seeing which side of the line he lived on. All right, cool. Do your thing, bro.
No, I like that a lot. I meant to ask you about this. I got reminded by Tapa. What's up with Tyson Campbell, though?
I'm not even sure how fully to answer that question without having the whole segment. Like, what's up with that's a lot more than just a random. That ain't a passing question. Tyson has been up and down. Get
back to you, but we are just as unimpressed as you currently are. I'll put it that way, Tapa.
Fair. Fair, but I mean, we had a whole podcast with Tony Wiggins on Locked On Jaguars that we talked about this at the time that he was getting his contract extension, and they were like, "Hey, should the Jaguars re-sign him or should they re-sign Cisco?" In my head, I immediately said I will re-sign Cisco. Then, and you can check the tape. I said I will resign Cisco because he's less money, and I'm still got questions on both of these guys. And if I got questions on you still, then I'm not giving the bad to the one guy I got more questions on, especially when it's injury related. And this year it's not even injury related; it's truly questions on whether or not it's going to play well. I don't know.
Yeah, and in fairness, he does take on the top guy typically every week. However, the 49ers core, you should have been able to do more than, and I get it. Ricky Pearsall's big catch. He was on the ground. It was a series of unfortunate events.
I told y'all about Ricky Pearsall, and y'all was not y'all because it wasn't you. It wasn't you. But it was the people in the comments, the chat. They were telling me, "Oh, we're scared of 49ers receivers now. Since when are people scared of Ricky Pearsall?" And I'm like, "Where have you been?" You were in 2024.
There was a time where the Niners' top two ball carriers were both dudes that had previously gotten shot. Okay, at the very least, they tough. Okay, can we acknowledge that?
Yeah, they're living on the wrong side of 8 Mile. Jesus. How all y'all getting shot? Jeez, what you doing?
Anyway,
so Jaguars United. Jason says put Devin Lloyd on Kelsey. And obviously it's not going to be one guy. Yeah, it's obviously not going to be one guy, but I think that might be reasonable. Maybe that might be the game plan. But we shall see. Because again, whether they run more nickel, whether they run more dime and kind of go that route, depending, because this is not the physical bunch like the 49ers receiver core that we talked about. This is a more I don't know. They're not guys who are blocking on the edges. They're like the 2023 and 2024 Jaguars receiver core, who didn't do very much blocking on the edge. So maybe this might be a Travis Hunter spending more time at outside corner week. So we'll see, man.
I'm with that. Certainly not known for being tough like the Niners group are, and not necessarily known for a big run game that might run Travis Hunter over, as I had hinted during our Duval Dive Live show. Before we wrap up, I feel like you should have to answer for this from Jason Trent acting a fool in the comments. Sounds like Travis is a Chiefs fan.
I'm not even sure where he gets that. What will make you say that? I haven't even set my worst takes yet. Like, I'm still getting those warmed up for Friday. Like, they are still bubbling in my spirit. Like, no. So I'm what I am. I'm just a man who just judges the tape, and I just gauge whatever it is. I'm gonna tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. And you're gonna hate me today, and then you'll come at me tomorrow and be like, you know what, you was right. Or you come at me a year later and be like, all right, yeah, you were right. My bad. I was in my feelings.
My dude who claims to be a movie quote man done missed a great opportunity to retain a role as Nathan R. Jessup. You can't handle the truth, Jason Trent.
But yeah, they're definitely looking forward to Club Jaguar tonight. Hopefully y'all give them a little dose of the truth too, and don't be shying away from it now. You hear?
Okay, listen, that's what it is, man. They'll take hate watchers. No, I'm kidding.
But if you are listening to the sound of our voice, please click the like button. Don't leave this stream without clicking that like button, and also wait till the end. Maybe we'll have a little treat for you at the end after the music plays. Just stay on for a second if you don't mind.
Well, but you don't even need to hype it like that. What? First of all, Travis, tell the world where you could be found.
Hey, man, I can be found on all the socials. You can find me on BigCatCountry.com, where we cover all the Jaguars, press conferences and takeaways from that. We have the rookie report of where all the rookies performing so far in this 2025 season. We put that out every week. We also have our post-game presser, our post-game write-ups. We have our observation pieces, which I didn't do this week only because I got called away on my assignment for the first 3 days of the dang week. So that will be here every week.
We both got called on assignment early this week.
Just so you guys know, that will be here every week other than this week. So I do apologize for that. And you can follow me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. If you're listening to us on the YouTube, which I know you guys in the chat are live, please click that subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on the podcast version, please rate and review us. Give us 5 stars. Help us out with the algorithm. It costs you nothing but time, but it helps us out tremendously. And again, we appreciate you guys spending your Wednesday night with us. And hopefully we got all your questions. And if we didn't, put them in the YouTube in the comment section, and we'll get to them later, because we do engage with you guys, and we'll make sure we give you answers to all your questions, because you guys are Duval and so are we.
Yeah, some of your stuff I can tell you already is going to come up Friday because there were great points already made in the comments tonight. So look out for that. By the way, definitely to your point, Travis, we definitely got to pay some tribute to Coach Liam Cohen ourselves. We'll do that here in the outro. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at BSOTG. Find me on Facebook as a student of the game. Check out my writings with the Fans First Sports Network, not only covering your Jacksonville Jaguars. If you haven't caught this week's edition of The Good, the Bad, and the Spotty, please do so. And also my work with the Orlando Magic. Media Day was this past Monday. I talked with Jamal Mosley and Paolo Banchero. Also spoke with Desmond Bain and Tyus Jones as well, among other Magic people. Hoping to get more content out this week. Hopefully further assignments won't get way into that. It's a whole other question. Of course, my work with the Black and Gold Banneret and Night Shift podcast. The Kansas Jayhawks come to town to play some football against the UCF Knights at the Bounce House. So we'll see how that goes for them, see if they can bounce back and get their first conference win of the season. And lastly, of course, Bolt Blitz Uncut with my dude, Booga Peters, and Buck D on there as well. Yeah, so the long list goes, but for all you Duval divers, for all you Duval devout, for my personal champion, and in tribute to Liam Cohen, until next time, everyone, class dismissed.
26 and the 49ers 21.
Let's go. Duval.